the last full week of school. We cannot wait for the summer to come. And we also got a message from Dawn-louise's drama teacher yesterday, and she's got 2 trial lessons this Monday and next Monday to try and get a place in the older group at drama, because they are shutting down the younger group because not enough people have been going. But the older group is for up to 12 years. It's more focused. There's more opportunities for performances. Dawnie's collar is a mess. What have you done? So yeah, we're really excited. It is a 2-hour class. At the moment she only does one hour, so it's gonna be a big jump. But I think that she can do it because she's really, really hard working. And I didn't do her hair so great this morning. You can see a bit of it's poking out there. Oops. You have toothpaste on you. Come and sort that out.
Hi everybody, and I'm back from drama from my big class. And actually I made a friend. Her name is called Kaylee. And we were partners for most of the things. It was Wizard of Oz. And also and Kaylee was the bad witch. I was the good one, so I was like the fairy, but I was kind of acting like I was the bad one, and she was more nice. So we need to work on that. And yeah, and I'll see her next week on Monday. And yeah.
Hey everybody, and happy Friday. So yesterday, Thursday for us, was a very, very hard day. So I'm just going to talk you through what happened. Those that follow us on Instagram already know that Dawn-louise was in fact in hospital again. So let me just explain what happened. So on Thursday morning, I took Dawn-louise's saturations, and when she woke up at 7 a.m, they were 80%, but by 8 a.m, they'd gone down to just 72%. You who have watched Dawn-louise and I before, you'll know that Dawn-louise's oxygen needs to stay between 75 and 85%. If she goes below 75, she doesn't need oxygen. But because her saturations have been fluctuating so much over the last 2 weeks, since we were last in hospital, I tried to give her a little bit of time for her body to sort of wake up and adjust, and hopefully those saturations would increase, because she was feeling a little bit tired, and she did only manage 2 spoonfuls of cereal because her body was too weak to eat any more. But she's been having these like sporadic episodes where she'd be like really tired and then really awake and then full of energy again. So I was hoping that this was another one of these cases and she would get better. So considering that I knew that we would have to get a bus to school and she would be sat down the entire time and resting, I thought, let's try and go to school, let's try and have a normal day, and hopefully by the time we got to school her body's rested a little bit and it's back to its normal range. Unfortunately, that is not what happened. We got to the school and I still could not get her saturations up any higher. We tried 2 pulse oximeter machines and 3 probes on the more heavy duty one, and all of them were reading the same. I tested it myself, so we knew that the saturations were accurate, and she was still sitting between 69 to 72%, which was very low for her. She'd actually gone down in that half an hour. So I did end up having to call an ambulance to the school, and by the time they got there, they had actually gone back up and they were now sitting at 80. So they didn't want to put her on oxygen straight away, but they did want to get her to the hospital because we've been having a lot of changes in her body. And as you know, HLHS is a terminal life-threatening illness. So things can change very quickly, and those changes must be taken seriously, otherwise really bad things can happen, and we don't want that. We obviously want her to be at her best. So instead of sending her to school for the day and possibly getting a lot worse, as well as being exposed to further illnesses that might be going around the school that day, because the weather has changed so much, we do need to go back onto cold alert. If people are coughing and sneezing constantly around her, it's going to put her life in danger. So it's really important that we don't take any risks with her health this time of year. So we got in the ambulance, and thankfully her saturations didn't go back down. They stayed between 75 and 80, so she was in the lower side of her range, but she stayed pretty stable. She did try and drink in the ambulance and ended up choking on it, so her body was definitely still struggling. She was very tired, and this is a common thing with children with her condition. When she was a baby, for the first 8 months of her life, she did have to have an NG tube because she couldn't handle drinking all the milk. Now obviously now that she's older, she doesn't need to drink a load in one portion very quickly, and water's obviously not as thick as milk, but it is still very tiring for her when she's having a tough day. So she did end up choking, getting very blue and just worn out trying to drink from her bottle. So we did end up having to just make sure she took very little sips at a time and not try and like gulp it down or drink a large volume at once. And by the time that we got to the hospital, her saturations had gone down again. They were between 74 and 76, but they were sitting mostly at 75, 76. They didn't put her on oxygen. and thankfully we were there from about 9 o'clock in the morning till 12:30 lunch. So we weren't there too long. She didn't need oxygen. They checked her over, they did her ECG again to check that she hadn't had a heart attack or anything like that, or anything that would be causing issues with her saturations. And we got very lucky. We actually had one of the emergency department pediatric cardiologists, so he was a little bit more trained. So for the most part, that morning visit went quite well and she was okay. The only problem that we did leave with is that last May she had an x-ray, which I will put over here somewhere, and we did find out that one of the sternum wires that was used to hold her chest together after her open heart surgery, because they have to saw through the sternum to get to the heart, the wires that they used to close that up, one of them has broken, and Dawn-louise has been complaining of lower abdomen pain, so sort of in the centre of her chest, just above her belly. It turns out that the wire that is broken is sticking out very slightly. It's not sticking out enough that you can see it, but when you run your finger along it, I myself could feel it, and so could the doctor, and he confirmed that it is definitely one of the wires that is causing that. So depending on how much pain she's going to have to be going through with this, she may have to have another surgery. Unfortunately, they do have to do open heart surgery to change the sternum wires or to remove them, because they are inside the sternum bone. There is no other way to get it. You can't use a cardiac catheter, so this would mean opening her chest back up, taking it out, removing it, putting a new one in, and obviously we really don't want to do that, because open heart surgery is very dangerous. The risks associated with it are very severe, so even for something like removing a sternum wire, that is still an extremely huge and very risky procedure to take. So we are hoping that that is not the case, and hopefully when we see her personal cardiologist, we will have more information on whether she will have to go ahead with that or not. But at the moment, she's only been complaining of it like at 5 minutes at a time. It's not been like an all day pain or anything, but she's quite a flexible child. She does like do like bridges and stuff, and obviously contorting her body in those shapes is going to push that against her skin a little bit more. So when she's doing things like that, she is going to be able to feel it more, and it may become visible, but hopefully she won't be in too much pain, and there is no risk of tissue damage to it, which is brilliant, because obviously it's wire. You have to be careful that it's not going to damage the skin internally or cause bruising. So we do have to watch out for a few things extra, but other than that, it's okay. And it should hopefully it will just sort of become more comfortable with her as she grows, and it won't have to be removed. But she did have her surgery 5 years ago this September, so these wires are now 5 years old, and that is the longest that she's gone without surgery. She had her last surgery when she was 4.5, so 5 years is the longest that she's ever not had surgery. So this is obviously something new for her. She's not had wires in that long. She's had wires done 4 times because she's had 4 open heart surgeries, but this is the first time they've ever been in long enough to start causing an issue, and this is the first time they've ever broken inside her as well. So as obviously attendance is an issue with Dawn-louise, where she does get sick so much and takes so much longer to recover, and then she also has to be off when other children are sick around the school, we didn't want to obviously have the rest of the day off school. She seemed fine herself. We knew that we can monitor saturations at school and at home, so we did take her back to school for the afternoon, and she had a nice easy day. They sat down and watched a movie, and then I came in and we did like this thing where we just looked at their books and looked at some projects that other children have made. Unfortunately, Dawn-louise didn't get to make one because she was too poorly and didn't have enough energy for it, which sucks, but still, at least, you know, she's made it back to school today. So it was really lovely to look at her books, and she was just so excited to show me all the work that she'd done, and that made me so proud of her, because even though she misses all this time, she still wants to learn, she still wants to be at school, she still enjoys learning and the environment that she's got there. So I was really happy that she was healthy enough to go back to school, even if it was only for the afternoon. Now, unfortunately, things got a little bit worse as the day went on. So we went home, and Dawn-louise and I were sat on the couch, and we were just watching TV and stuff, trying to have a nice chill afternoon so that we can monitor her saturation to make sure that they were going to stay stable. And her saturation seemed fine, they stayed in the 80s, so I decided we'd give her a bath before she goes to bed, and I said to her, okay, get yourself undressed, get yourself in the bath, and I'll just go get your water, because her lips were really dry and I need to keep her hydrated. But obviously she was taking such small sips, she wasn't getting the same volume of juice or water that she would normally get. And when I came back, my jaw just dropped, because she had this massive bruise on her hip, and I had not seen it before. I'd obviously seen her in hospital and everything, and she hadn't hit it on anything. If she hits her body, we always check for bruising and put an ice pack on straight away to limit bruising, and the school hadn't told me that she hit herself on anything, and they obviously normally would, and she would go to the teacher if she felt it. So I said, you know, do you know how you've got this, because it's absolutely massive, you must have hit it. And she went, I don't remember. And she still can't think of any time where she would have hit her hip, and it wasn't hurting her at all. So it was really strange how it sort of came out of nowhere. So because Dawn-louise is on aspirin to keep her blood thin so she doesn't get blood clots leading to heart attacks and strokes, it's very important that when Dawn-louise has an unknown cause for a bruise that we take her in and make sure that her blood isn't becoming too thin, because she has been on aspirin her entire life. There is always a chance that her blood will become too thin and she could develop a platelet or coagulation deficiency. So we went into hospital. We got there about 7:30 because we had to take a taxi and wait for one, and it took a little bit longer than we'd hoped where it was so late. And I had to dry her off first as well because she'd already been in the bath and we didn't want to get her cold because she does struggle with the temperature changes. And they had a look at it and they measured the bruise itself without the edging was 5 centimetres, and she does have a small hematoma, so she does have a small clump of blood. It's not quite a blood clot 'cause it's soft, but it is under her skin, so we did need to watch her, and she had to stay in hospital for at least an hour to be monitored and make sure that the bruise didn't spread any further. Thankfully, because we were in hospital 11 days ago, she had bloods done then, and she definitely doesn't have a platelet or coagulation problem, so it's perfectly fine. It didn't grow during the hour that we were there, so obviously we've got to watch it. She's got to have it checked at least every hour at school, and at home I'll probably just have her in some shorts or something so that I can keep an eye on it as well, and just make sure that if she hits it again, we ice it straight away. And yeah, it kind of sucks because she did spend most of her day in hospital yesterday, and we didn't end up going home till 11:30. We got discharged around 9:30, but then we had another half an hour chat with the doctor about all the things that have gone on these last 2 weeks, and they were quite concerned that we hadn't been called in for a ward review, so they're trying to chase up her cardiac hospital so that she can hopefully get seen by a cardiologist to make sure that her heart isn't failing and it's not something really severe that's causing all these changes in her. Her cardiologist is back next week, so hopefully we will get seen before the end of the month. We've already waited almost 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks on Tuesday, so I think Dawn-louise is really struggling with not knowing what's going on with her body at the moment, considering that she is very in tune with it and she normally knows what these changes feel like and everything, and this is a whole new thing for her to experience, and it's quite intimidating for her, bless her heart. So yeah, because we got home at 11:30 last night, we had to let her rest this morning because we couldn't risk her over using her body when she's already had saturation issues. We didn't want to push her too far, so she slept in till about 10 o'clock this morning, and then she had a slow breakfast, took time to get ready so she wasn't exerting herself, because everything that kids do in the morning is so much harder for Dawn-louise. I will leave a link down below in the comments to a video called The Spoon Theory, and it will fully explain why Dawn-louise struggles so much with her energy, basically. Unlike other children, Dawn-louise can't be rushed in the morning because it takes her a lot of energy to brush her teeth, it takes her a lot of energy to eat her breakfast and have her medicines, it takes her a lot of energy to get dressed, and sometimes she struggles so much that I actually still have to get her dressed even though she's 9 years old. But you know, I just want to make her day as easy as it possibly can be, because travelling to school, doing work, playing at break time, having lunch, it's all very, very much a massive use of her energy, and she does start to struggle when she's not at her best healthy self. Obviously she's never going to be healthy, but her version of her healthiest. So we did get to school at about 11:30 this morning, and we had to wait for her TA to come around, have a look at the bruise, fill her in on what's been happening, get her discharge papers photocopied so they knew why she was late. And so yeah, the first lesson of her day was lunchtime, and she couldn't have her school dinner because she had come in later, so she got a nice treated packed lunch, and they're going to keep her in lunch club for the whole of lunch break because it's wet play today because it's been raining so much, and we can't risk another child running into her or hitting her hip, because if that bruise does get any bigger, she's going to have to stay in hospital overnight for observations, because we need to make sure that it's not going to cause any blood clots, because again, if she gets a blood clot, it could break off, go into her heart, cause a heart attack, break off to her brain and cause a stroke. So we really can't risk that. So as much as I'm happy that she's at school, it's also scary because there's so many children there, and obviously all it takes is one to run into her and we could end up in hospital again for the third time this week. And obviously you know, they're children, they're not going to understand how serious it is when Dawn-louise gets hurt or bruised. So I just have to sort of trust that Dawn-louise knows how to navigate herself and make sure that she isn't in a position where she's going to get harmed by somebody else. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go. I've got so much to do where I normally start my days at 5 o'clock in the morning, and it was really hard for me to get up this morning because I was so tired, because I had to stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning because her alarms were going off, and she hit the 90s again last night. So I've had about 4 hours sleep. So that's fun. So I've got to try and not fall asleep, get all the house stuff done, sort out her medicines that have just come in, and later on today we're going to the cinema, so hopefully we won't end up back in hospital so she can enjoy some normality, because cinema is pretty much the only thing she can do when she's having a tough week, because it just involves sitting down and watching a movie. But we're going to go see The Lion King, so it should be fun. But I'm extremely tired, so I'm going to stop talking now and get moving before I fall asleep right here in my chair. On Thursday, I went and got myself a cup of tea from the parents' room. This place brought back a lot of memories, as I spent a lot of time here when Dawn-louise was 6 months old, up to about 2 years.
I'm making a Lego house. That's the roof, which has been yet to be falling apart. So, stick please. I just came back from the hospital second time. First time was saturation's going like really low, and basically like my biggest goal is to become a famous ballerina. The thing I most find funny is when I just walk into doors at home. My favourite Disney movie is probably Rapunzel. Easy art, because I like drawing. You should see my designs I've made on my notebook. Hi and happy Friday. I made it to the cinema and we had hot dogs and Haribos, and I saw The Lion King, and I actually really liked it, and I loved the bit when the meerkat and the other animal, well, pig really, said Akula Matala, Akula Matala, means no worries for the rest of your days, problem free, Sophie Matala, Akula Matala, Akula Matala, Akula Matala. And I really liked it because of that song. And also, when all of last time, which sadly didn't have, and all of the bad ones were like looking like food, like that, like a meerkat, which is funny, and they didn't have that. And then it started singing, and then it's like, yeah, and then it kept running, and then all of the bad ones just. Then they got so dizzy to the point they just fell. Bye everybody, and if you like this video, please like, comment and subscribe. Bye guys.
Everybody gives you advice, yeah, on how to live your life, how to live your life. Don't you know that life is full of surprises? You better realize,